Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for another Watercolour Wednesday. I'm gearing up for some more snowy sunrises or sunsets. We did these a couple of weeks back and I enjoyed them a lot. My original plan had been to put something in the deep foreground and have that snowy landscape off in the background. So maybe using some stamps in the foreground, wintry hedgerow elements. And in order to create the space for that, my aim this time is to have my horizon line a bit further back, so further off in the distance. I've got my Art to Basic watercolour paints out again, handmade watercolours. Beautiful. I've given those a little spritz. Again, I'm sticking to this end of this palette with the pinks and the reds, and we might have a little bit of bluey snow. So I'm going to aim to keep things in sort of the top half-ish of this. And I might also give myself a slightly wobblier horizon line so that we've got some sloping going on. So I just need to start that off. I should maybe have given the page a little spritz as well. And I'm going to aim maybe for a little more drama in the sky. Not sure. We'll see how we go. I might aim to put in a bit of cloud texture, but as before, I'm really not aiming. I'm not trying for a flat wash. I'm not trying to have this be a perfect ombre. I want there to be some striations, these gorgeous sort of stripinesses in the sky, because that is going to echo the snowy sunrises and sunsets we've had here, where there's really been quite a lot of drama to what's going on in the sky. So again, I'm not entirely sure what colours I'm picking up here. I'm just letting the watercolour do its work on the page. There goes the little train down in the valley. Don't know if you can hear that. The details about the paints will be down in the description later. So one very simple way to create a little bit of cloud structure in the sky is with paper towel, simple as anything, just picking up touches of colour so that you get yourself little movements. It's still moving, that paint, still very much on the move. I'm gonna see what happens if when I say see what happens, I know what happens. The paint moves around. I'm seeing what happens in my imagination if I come from the top down this time. Again, just allowing those colours to blend in any way they choose to as I move the brush down, and trying to remember to just go to halfway. And again, I'm going to try and give myself a slightly more interesting horizon line, just something with a bit of movement. But then really, I don't want the sky following that. That's the hills that do that. So I then need to go back to getting myself a little bit of horizontal striation in the sky itself. I am trying to go for a little more drama this time around in terms of colour. Let's maybe start with this one. But I'm sticking basically to 3 colours. Oh, that's quite a full-on red. But there was one sky one morning when I was out bright and early for an appointment, and the sky was the most astonishingly vivid shade of pink. I'm even almost tempted to put a little bit of this into the mix, because I really hadn't ever seen anything quite like it. The glow of it was astounding. So we'll maybe have one really strong. And then into these again, I'm just going to add some cloudy textures just by lifting up a little bit of that paint in a very soft fashion. I can add detail to these clouds later on. I just want to create a little bit of texture in the sky to start me off. So that's going to be a question of letting things dry now. Letting that really, this is a bit too smooth. I'm going to see if I can jagged it up a little bit. I mean, really, in the long run, it's going to be fine because there's going to be things over the top of it. Maybe we'll leave it at that. I sort of want this one in the middle because it is the odd one out, as it were. But then also what I can do is just to create on the skyline maybe a little bit of shadowy tree work. Not with definition, but just creating, using what's hopefully still slightly wet paint, not quite wet enough. I just want to add a little bit of sense of, so let's wet that. Shadows over the skyline. There it is. That might be trees, that might be forest, it might be distant hills. It's just, again, breaking up the solidity of that skyline. And again, because I'm going to be stamping over these, here I'm going to get a bloom because I've put wetter paint into slightly drier paint. That is going to, what some people call cauliflower out. But that might be quite interesting because what it might give me is a little sense of a forest. Okay, let's intensify that sense of forest with just some little tree shapes. Just letting that be something a bit more interesting just over the horizon. And then finally into a little bit of snowy shadow, blues and violets maybe. And again, I think what I'm going to do is just let that zigzag down the page. If that colour comes with, so much the better. I did touch into the red there, and it's bringing some of that colour down. So again, I quite like that accident. I'm going to encourage it. So I've just got some of that sort of greyish colour on the mat, and now I'm adding a little bit of blue to it to just give me a sense of shaded hills, slopes and movement in that snow right down into the foreground. Good, quite enjoying that. And so it's just giving a place for any foreground stamping I do to happen. I'm slightly regretting the hilly horizon line at the moment, but I'm sure I'll get over it. Right, and into these clouds up here, I also want to add a little more weight and a little more drama. So I'm going to use those same colours, the very pale blue and the dark, to just add a bit of weight to some of these clouds. I'm coming back, I'm not leaving it like that. So I'm just going to let that create a bit of shading at the base of some of those cloud shapes. And as long as you get there while it's still wet, you'll be able to move it around in quite a satisfying sort of way. So a lot more drama in the sky this time. Little shaping into those clouds. That's quite enjoyable. I'm going to soften these a little bit. A bit too much going on in that one. Just letting it drift and move. And it's another advantage to working across 3 panels, because watercolour, as I have mentioned before, will operate differently according to how much moisture is left on the page. So if things are gradually drying, you're getting a chance to shift and play with things on each of them progressively. I'm rather enjoying those clouds. I will zoom in a little bit when we come back from letting these dry, so that you can have a look at the weight of some of that. And then I'm also just a little bit interested in coming in with a finer brush, a little bit more of this grey, to just add a bit more tree texture in these places where I've created, here a bit of a mess, here some quite interesting shadows, quite enjoying that. But I just want to give those a chance to live as trees in the far distance. And that might have a little bit of these wonderful messy trees. Just a little touch of horizontality as well. So it's not just uprights. It is kind of pine branches going sideways too. Very, very impressionistic, very soft, very loose in the far distance, in the background, just to create that sense of far away stuff going on. Could even be buildings. That one's sort of feeling like buildings. That's quite nice. And then I'm also sort of interested, of course, in just a touch of spatter for extra texture, and maybe particularly along that horizon line. Again, to mess it up a little bit. It's a bit too neat and perfect at the moment. There it is. Grand. So I'm going to let these dry. I can do that with a bit of a heat gun go. The heat gun will set it exactly as it is, whereas if I want to let that paint continue to spread and move, then I really need to let it dry by itself. I do want some shadow down under these trees. There we go. That's better. That's just anchoring things. Okay, I'm going to let those dry, she said, fiddling again, and then get ready to put some stuff into the foreground. That was too much. Back you come. Oh, there we go. Just dabbing that back makes quite the difference. Grand. And as I say, not too troubled at the moment, because I am going to put some stamping in the foreground. So lots of lovely drama in these skies. I'm enjoying those cloud shapes and formations really quite a lot. My horizon line is not making me happy yet, and that's fine. I'm sort of rather liking the idea of these trees are somewhere further off in that background now, that we're looking at the same trees. So I'm going to see what it's like to take this same pair of beautiful scraggly trees from the Great Outdoors stamp set. But I don't want to stamp them the same size as that. I want them way off in the distance. So what I'm going to try and do is create, I must have a scrappier bit of paper than that. I don't want to tear that one up. It's a nice one. I can use it. Good. So I'm going to tear myself a mask that hopefully I can repurpose across these tags quite softly. So I'm going to line that up with that snow line there. Then take maybe something quite soft. If I do this in a Distress ink or Oxide, then I can get rid of it later if I don't like it. And I might go in something like, should I go Hickory Smoke? I might go Hickory Smoke. So what I'm going to do is just stamp the very top of the tree. So this is Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide. taking the top part of that tree and pretending it's a tree in the very far distance by stamping over my mask, just to add a bit of extra detail and texture to my world of trees over here on the horizon. That's quite good to start with. Let's have a couple over here, and then I'm going to come back with this one that has got a bit more branch work going on. So let's come in with this one, and maybe we don't want, maybe we should go again with, I can't remember what it was. I think it was Stormy Sky Oxide, was it? It was a lovely soft thing in any case. Let's try that. So back with my masking, and in with the, again, I'm just inking up the top part. There's no point putting ink all over the rest of it. And let's pop that over there. So that's sort of too soft in some ways, but it's just giving me texture, background kind of detailing on those trees. Good. And over here, there it goes. And they're far off in the distance, and if it's too much, because it's the oxide, rather than going for Archival inks, which would have stayed put, I can soften that because they're water reactive, so they will stay reactive to the inks I put there. There we go. If you don't want to cut the mask, as you just saw, I did just stamp without the mask in place, and I got away with it. I think I might stick to the Stormy Sky on this side. That's quite nice. And oh, that's quite a steep hill I've got going on there, and I need to come back as well. So let's just do that for now, and it'll be rough, but again, I'm still planning to have some proper foreground stamping in a minute. That's quite nice. That's covering up the thing I wasn't enjoying from before. Let's put a little bit of tree branchy stuff. There's the mask. There it is. That's, I see, look, I can use that to get myself a secondary stamping if I don't want too much of the dark. There it is. That's what I want. So we're getting distant trees now, as opposed to these close ones. See what I'm aiming at? And yes, I will be coming in with some white pen line work any second now, I'm guessing. Let's try a Stormy Sky tree branchy one. Let's line that up approximately. As you can see, I'm not being terribly bothered about absolute precision on this masking. I'm kind of hoping for the best on all of these, but it's working out. I'm happy with where it's headed. That's good. I like that. And now let's have just a little touch of this one in there. In there. That's good. Like that one. In there. Good. Far distant trees. We could maybe get away with one a little closer. So something like that, just coming over the horizon. So again, it's breaking up that horizon line in quite a good way. Those trees are coming towards us now. Let's do that everywhere else because I like it. Yeah, just that little sense of here they come. Here come the trees, not like triffids, just, you know, growing as trees do in the wild. That's nice. Happier now. It was something about that horizon line being too perfect. That was the problem. And so they're allowed to be a bit bigger as they come towards us as well. That's half a branch, and that's no good. So in a minute I will soften that with the brush, because we know I can. Might come in with this one. In fact, might be nice to give him a trunk. Yeah, that works. And over here, little trees coming down towards us. Good. Good, good, good. Yes, and over here. See, as I work out a thing works, you see, as I like it, I'll do some more of it. If it's working, why not do a bit more? It's just bringing things down into focus. Over here. These ones are further away, can you see? It's so interesting. Just that slight shift of positioning, how much it changes what's going on. Grand. So happy I decided to try that. I've now got these beautiful trees sort of softly in the background. I'm now I'm now debating again whether I definitely do or don't want the sort of the hedgerow stamping in the foreground. I'm enjoying those trees a lot. What we do have is the possibility that we could go with a deer in the foreground. That's quite fun. What about you? Or we could go with a big tree in the foreground. Ooh, possibilities. Let's have a look at... I do still like the idea of something like this going all the way up the side of here though. Debating. He is quite nice there, isn't he? Looking at us. And I also quite like that coming into the foreground. Let's compare with these. Yeah, I'm going to have to create quite a lot of shadow under these to make them believable. I think I should stick to my guns and go for... Yeah, but which one? Do I want one of those in the foreground? Do I want one of those in the foreground? No, I think I want the winter grasses. Yep, gonna take the risk. Here we go. Here we go. What colour? Dark grey, I think. I think a grey will be enough. Here goes nothing. Anybody who wants the deer instead, you're just going to have to go and track down that stamp set and get yourself a deer instead. Going to come up from the bottom here. Oh yes, see, I love that. And we'll have another here. And then those other things are just way off in the background now. Let's have you at a slight angle. Nice. And we'll have you over here. A little higher up again, I think. And then one coming across. Like so. And then to just create that illusion of we're looking across the distant snowy landscape from close up. I think I just need a bit of weighting as in W-E-I-G-H-T, weighting at the base here, which I think again I might do with the grey. I love the soft grey of that. It's not too in your face. It's gentle. But then what I think I need something like that. I've got a bit of blue on the sponge, but I'm going to take the Hickory smoke particularly around here. So I've got grey and blue coming on from that bottom corner, and grey and blue coming on from this bottom corner, just to create that depth. Grey and blue coming on from this bottom corner. It's about shadows. That makes me rather happy. I need one more bit just through here, I think. It's just about creating a bit more presence of these. Yeah, enjoying those quite a lot. And you know what I need? Of course what I need is a bit of snowy spatter and some birds. So let's find that nice fine pen that I had the other day. And we can be a little bit bolder about the birds, I think, this time, because they could be in the far distance or they could be in this foreground. So let's just see where they want to be. I think we'll go like that. And maybe one near him. There they are. And here they're going to be flying off in this direction. There they are. I think here they're flying off in this direction. Against the clouds. He needs a bit more wing. That's nice. That's very nice. And snowy spatter to finish. And snowflake. So could do this with a gouache, or with gesso, or with any white acrylic paint. Just get a bit of that, get my scraggy spatter brush and check the size of my spatters. So that's very liquidy, so that's going to give me a really soft snowy spatter with the paint. Just again creating texture both on the ground and in the sky. And then what I'm going to come back with is a little touch of the Bleedproof white, which will give me a whiter, brighter spatter. So that's sort of what I would think of these days as my background spatter. Quite a watery wash of white paint. Quick little blast with the heat gun to let that sink into the background. And then I'll come back with a little bit of the Bleedproof white and much less water on this, so that I can try to keep quite a bright white spatter. Needs a little bit more than that to get it moving. Let's check that. Yeah, that's good. A bit more of the ink. There it is. This is it is a bit of trial and error, but as you know, I spatter a lot. So a lot of practice gets you to understand what you might be after. Now, of course, I'm going to be back to wondering whether I want to add words or not to these. In the end, I ended up with some very subtle little bits of wording on this trio. The winter sky above, crisp winter air, winter sunrises. So I might have a little think about what I might want here. I've decided to take phrases all from one quote. So this is again my PaperArtsy Winter Edition, EAB05. This fantastic John Burroughs quote. It is the life of the crystal, the architect of the flake, the fire of the frost, the soul of the sunbeam. This crisp winter air is full of it. So we used crisp winter air on the previous ones, but I think what I'm after this time is maybe the fire of the frost, the soul of the sunbeam, given our sunrises and sunsets, and the life of the crystal. I think those are my three chosen phrases, stamped in grey onto the same watercolour paper as I've used for these panels, but I've stamped on the smoother side. With these three, I managed to get all three pieces of paper the same way up, so they've got the same amount of texture on each of them. I'm just giving that a little edging with the same sponge, so it's got blue and grey on it. Should do the trick, just to be tucked down in that little corner. I'm going to glue those on, and then we'll zoom in for a close-up. Thank you, as always, for your company on this creative journey. Leave comments and questions down below if you've enjoyed this. Do give me a thumbs up, and if you aren't already subscribed to the channel, I would love to have your company for the however long this creative journey goes on. I'll leave ingredients down below. I'll leave a link to the previous video in case you want to watch the previous 3 being created, but I hope you can see that we've this time achieved that further off horizon and a little bit of foreground stamping. I'm a little bit tempted to come in with a touch more shading just on the hill here, just on that horizon line. It's still slightly bugging me. That might be enough to just soften my worry. Yeah, I think it just gives it that presence, rather than it being the bright white line against the sky. I think I like that, which is the much paler blue, as the dividing moment. Grand. In any case, as I was saying, leave comments and questions. I'll put links in the description and information about the ingredients. I'm going to glue on these words and phrases, and then I'll be back with a close-up. Thanks so much for your company, and happy crafting all.